Welcome into Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. And if you can believe it, Phil, we have had a year's worth of guests on this show. We have another terrific guest lined up today. But just looking back every single week, someone new, someone interesting, a difference maker in the Philadelphia community, in the basketball community that we've been able to speak with and see what kind of impact they're making. It's pretty impressive. It's been a fun journey so far.
Yeah, and before I jump into that with my thought, so many of you have reached out about the dip clip that you now have I got the flyer
Yes.
from young Ray Schmidt. You now have the flyer. It'll be out on our social media. And I just want to go back again. He's in 8th grade. He created this and he on a 3D printer and is donating all of the money back to his school for repairs that he won't partake of. He'll be in high school while these repairs are being done. That's a difference maker. But the dip clip, that will be out there. And you make a great point. A year's worth of guests and all areas of basketball, all areas of the community, all similar in that they are making a difference in their way. And the names kind of like roll through my head, and I don't want to rattle all 52 of them off with the chance that I would miss somebody. But I thought of this. What did we get out of that? What did our group, our audience get out of it? And I would say the idea that we all learned. And isn't it a great day when we can teach and when we can learn? And we didn't even have to go out and seek opportunities to learn. We just had to immerse ourselves in that week's podcast or going back and listening again, because our guests did not give you book knowledge, but they gave you like life knowledge. And the idea of the other thing that resonated with me is everybody talked about the we, and they were talking about relationships. And it causes me to think back to all of the players and the managers, support staff, and assistant coaches that I learned from and that hopefully I gave to also. Because I think every day that you are a teacher and every day that you are a student, no matter your station in life, you've had a full day. One of the things that resonates with me with all of our guests, love of blank, love of their school, love of their program, love of their mission. But they weren't, no one has talked to us as if this is my job. No, this is my love. This is my purpose. The work ethic. Amazing. Like, we think that we do a lot putting this together once a week. And we're talking to people that are basically on call 24 hours a day, using their strengths and being able to say, I don't know that area, so I went and got this person, because they're all on teams, everybody that we've talked to. So we've covered every classroom, every gym, every workplace, and it's even going to be better as we go further. So for all of us, we have to open our eyes and open our hearts, because there will be a chance today to learn and to teach, and therefore to make a difference. See the opportunities, and then seize those opportunities. And to all of our guests, thank you. You've taught and you've made a difference. So here's to the next 52. And man, are we starting off with a big one today?
That's exactly right.
A big one. But we can't go there until we do
The Martelli Minute.
And where do you find that?
Every morning at 6:30 on Instagram at Phil_Martelli.
And it's just a thought to get you started. You don't have to agree. You don't have to disagree. But if it gets you to talk to yourself out loud early in the day, that's a good thing. To make your dreams a reality, you must focus on the details, and the smallest of details matter. Use your heart and your head, as weapons of mass construction, not weapons of mass destruction. Use your heart and your mind as a weapon of mass construction to build up. Treat others fairly, which means you are not treating all the same. Treat all fairly, but that leads to not treating everybody the same. Cookie cutter doesn't work. Individual relationships. I don't know is an authentic, astute, acceptable answer. None of us want to use it. I don't know is an authentic, astute, acceptable answer. Value others for whom they are, not their titles, not their treasures, not their talents, for they matter not. Value others for whom they are. Titles, treasures, talents matter not. Trust your instincts. You know. That's a good one right there. The Martelli Minute. Status Solutions is still with us. What are they bringing? They're bringing safety technology to all schools, large office buildings, company surroundings. All communities can get involved in helping their schools have safety so that our young people can go learn, that they can go learn in a safe environment. Statussolutions.com. That's where you go to pick up that information.
The Martelli Minute every morning, 6:30 a.m.
Every morning.
On Instagram at Phil_Martelli.
Well, now this guest. When I put together this list 13 months ago, this name was 2-3, right there, because a remarkable individual, but the path and the position that he holds in the game that we love is extraordinary. Well, we have to start an Ivy League graduate. We'll have to go through our records to see if we've had other Ivy League graduates from Dartmouth. A business owner, sports marketer, event planner and coordinator, an assistant coach. What was one of his duties as an assistant coach was camp director, associate commissioner of the Big East Conference. What a learning environment that had to be. Now, vice president and senior vice president at the NCAA of men's basketball. I don't really live by cliches, but this guy is a cliche. Friend to all, the kings and the paupers, a gentleman and a scholar. In a world of huge egos and overwhelming personalities, Dan Gavitt has risen to the top by being a great human being. There's no one at any level in college basketball, in any position in college basketball, president, athletic director, coach, assistant coach, that doesn't say to you, Dan Gavitt, he's as good as they come. Dan, welcome to Make a Difference.
Coach Martelli, that was too generous and kind in introduction, but I appreciate it. You know how much I treasure our friendship and relationship, and happy to be on with you and Jared. And I've already learned some things myself. So in that opening I've learned some things. Hopefully I can share some things with the listeners as well.
I know you can do that. So, Dan, that was part of your path. How did you end up in Indianapolis today? Like, what was your path to get there?
I never imagined I would work at the NCAA or have the good fortune and blessing of being able to work on March Madness, which is something that we all just treasure, of course, as college basketball fans and those in the game. I started, as you mentioned, coach as an assistant basketball coach at Providence College. Right after graduation, I worked for the great Rick Barnes, who was an even better person than he is a basketball coach. And I learned so much just working for him for 6 years about how to be a professional, how to treat people well, how to work hard. And that started me on my path. And I never really knew where I would land or where it would end up, but I've been blessed along the way to have great opportunities, each of which together formulated this background and experience that have led me to this great opportunity at the NCAA, where I've been for 13 years, overseeing the basketball championships, and now also overseeing our broadcast media relationships and our corporate sponsor program. And so it's been a great journey. And like you mentioned earlier, I don't feel like it's been work as much as it's been, a love affair with the game and with the tournament, and been fortunate to have those opportunities.
Now, I know because I'm older, but even Jarrett might not know, and some of our listeners, please pay homage to your dad, the great dad.
Yeah, well, thanks for remembering him, Coach. You knew him well. Dave Gavitt was my father, who's been gone now for about 14 years, unfortunately, but had an incredible Hall of Fame career in the game of basketball internationally. He was a college basketball coach at Providence College, took a team to the Final Four in 1973, was our Olympic coach in 1980, even though we didn't go to Moscow because we boycotted the games that year. President of the Boston Celtics, started the Big East Conference, ultimately was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, and had just a brilliant career in basketball and in this college sports business. But even more than that, he was just a great guy, a great father, of course, to my brother and myself. But he helped so many people, like you're doing with this podcast, and make a difference. I'm confident that he made a difference in people's lives, in the hundreds of people that I don't even know probably what he did for them along their path. But he was a very giving person, and just a great guy. And so thanks for remembering him. He had a big impact on me and the game of college basketball overall, for sure.
That's unique about the boycott in '80, because that also impacted locally Kathy Rush at Immaculata. I don't know that she was to be the coach, but she was to do the broadcast. And if you could imagine, women's basketball in 1980 wasn't getting the broadcast like they are now. So she had a major assignment, and the boycott took that away. Because your dad would have coached collegiate players in that Olympic team, yes?
He did. And they put the team together, Coach. They played some exhibition games against NBA players and the 1976 Olympic team, coached by Dean Smith. Michael Brooks is on that team, Philly legend. And Isaiah Thomas and Mark Aguirre. It was a very good team, but like you said, predated the professionals playing in the Olympics, so it was all college players.
Wow. So Dan, you have a unique ability to maintain the human factor in a massive undertaking that we now call college hoops. How has that developed? And do you have a sense of how important that is to the people that are involved in college hoops? Your humanness.
Well, thanks. That means a lot coming from you. I think, that was ingrained in me probably by my father as well as by Rick Barnes. The people in the game are what the game is all about, right? The players, first and foremost, the coaches, But as you mentioned, the managers, the referees, broadcasters, everybody's involved with the game, fans, of course. And so we try to keep all that in perspective and make sure we're working towards supporting all of those that are involved with the game and love the game. And I've always said that while I have bosses at the NCAA, including Charlie Baker, our president now, who's a terrific leader, that I really feel like I work for coaches, athletic directors, conference commissioners. Like those are the people that we're serving in the game. And then we get to the tournament, of course, the players first and foremost, and then fans that watch on TV and in our arenas as well. I mean, and by keeping all of those people in mind as to how we go about doing our business, I think that's how we keep it human and we keep it real with those that are most impacted by the experience of college basketball.
And that impact goes well beyond March, right? And Dan could get into what do you do the rest of the time? Are you off? That's like the coaches. People are always saying, what does he do with the rest of his time? The game itself today, Dan, where do you feel the game is? An overview of that.
I think the way it's being played is as good as it's ever been. I mean, the talent level, I think, of players is at an all-time high. I think we have, because of some opportunities that players have now with NIL and immediate transfer, both of which cause some challenges, but I'll talk about in a moment. But I think because of that, we have college players staying and playing longer rather than testing the professional ranks than the NBA and overseas. So the quality of the game, I think, is as good as it's been because we got more experienced players playing it. And the depth of talent, both in men's and women's now as well. The growth of the women's game has been exceptional, as we know, the last few years. The challenge, I think, as we all know, and as you, I'm sure, have talked about from a coaching standpoint, managing rosters, building chemistry is more challenging than it's been before because of the player movement as a result of immediate transfer eligibility and name, image, and likeness opportunities. That still needs to find its level at some point, hopefully, so that the experience for the players and their development from basketball, but also just from a human and educational standpoint, finds its level. That's concerning. But I think, the game's being played at a very high level. I think, we're seeing a little better balance in offense and defense than we had, just a decade ago when it was much more physical. I think we're seeing the talent in college basketball rise to the cream of the crop now.
And then what's next? Where does the game go? Where I think more the game than the profession. I really like to focus on what you see on the horizon.
Well, it's going to become increasingly more international. We've seen that obviously at the NBA level. I think 30% of the players in the NBA now are international players that didn't play at all in the United States, growing up and developing as players, no college experience either. We're seeing that much more so now in college as well. I think we've doubled the number of players that are international players in men's college basketball in just the last few years, and I think that will continue. The NBA is looking at starting a league in Europe. They started a league in Africa. They're back now playing games in China just as of this week. So it is really a global game, which makes it fantastic. More talent around the world, more different styles of play. And I think we'll see more and more of that be kind of embraced and come into the college game, which I think will only make it better.
I have to wonder, and this may be for both of you here, is what does that mean for coaches as they try and expand their footprint? They've already have these networks where they're recruiting nationally. Do college coaches have to begin to recruit internationally? I know in the past teams have done trips overseas in the off season to kind of get those reps and get that experience for players, but it becomes an international recruiting game for coaches at the college level. How do they adjust to that?
Well, I think they need to. I think some of the better ones are already doing that, especially some programs that maybe have challenges recruiting the most talented domestic prospects. You can go back even just a number of years now. I think Mark Few, together with Tommy Lloyd, when he was an assistant at Gonzaga, recognized that. Randy Bennett at St. Mary's. They're not the only ones, but I think there are some examples on the West Coast that have benefited from recruiting internationally. I just think it's become more broadly accepted going forward. It's just going to have to be, an extra work by staff members. Coach can speak to that. You could designate someone on your staff to become more of the international expert. Of course, film helps that. Back 20 years ago, you'd have had, a hard time getting to film probably on all those players. Now you can get it on your iPad, but traveling to evaluate prospects internationally will be part of it. And the opportunities because of NIL are encouraging more and more European players to come to the United States and play when they previously wouldn't have done that.
I think that you have to, on both sides of that equation, you have to break down maybe myths or misconceptions. For a long time, what Dan just said about NIL. Well, when NIL started, they factored out the foreign students because of visa rules. Well, that's not the case. People need to know that. And a lot of times, Dan, right on our side, people said, "Oh, we can't get him because he's a professional." Well, yeah, but he's a professional because he's getting housing and food. Well, aren't our scholarship players getting housing and food? So you have to keep breaking it down, and then you have to be a presence. You have to be a presence. And when you walk into that gym, you have to have somebody that walks into that gym the same way they would walk into a gym in Baltimore or DC and say, I can trust that person. That person's going to tell me the truth. So a lot of these staffs are doing what Dan said. They're branching out and they're making the contact. And the first time you throw your line in the water, you don't catch the fish. You have to keep going back and being honorable and treat people with respect. And I do think it's the end, from the end of last season to the beginning of, even to the end of the summer, watching teams adding international players, it's the tip of the iceberg. I'm with Dan on that. I do think this is a big thing to come. Dan, you're the head coach. You're in charge of NCAA basketball. And I would like you now to take us through your staff, not so much by name, but by strengths. How do you engage them in utilizing their strengths? Because you have a remarkable undertaking that no man can do alone.
Well, I will mention one person by name because she's the best
Go ahead, please.
I had a chance to work with, and that's Joanne Scott, who's vice president for men's basketball at the NCAA. She has been at the NCAA now with me for about 12 years, worked at Nike for 17 years before that, and USA Basketball prior to that. And she's really an exceptional leader. And so a lot of the success we've had has been a direct result of her leadership. We also have a vice president for women's basketball, Lynn Holzman, former commissioner of the West Coast Conference, who is doing an exceptional job leading women's basketball for us as well. And so, no different than you mentioned head coach, Coach Martelli. It's about recruiting, right? It's about, hiring good, talented people to work on your staff and then hopefully mentoring them, supporting them, helping them develop professionally and personally. And we have a really strong staff at the NCAA in men's and women's basketball. Very different backgrounds. Some of them are much more, their background is much more on operations, because we run tournaments, right? That's our job, is running tournaments. And so operations, logistics is an important part of that. But, we have people who, have different strengths and backgrounds and experiences. And, you mentioned earlier when you recognize staffs and managers, we do hire a bunch of former managers because we have found that they are really good problem solvers. They're very hard workers. They don't have an ego. They have, been around programs, players, coaches, understand what they need and how to be successful working with them. And so we've had a good track record of having former basketball managers with us, and they've gone on in some cases and moved on to bigger and better opportunities away from the NCAA. But that's an area that we focused on a little bit, given the background of those young people.
Really great point. Really great point about that they have a love of the game, but more important than that, they have a love of people. And uh, you can't be a manager and be an introvert in any way, shape, or form. You got to be out there. They are special. Dan, where do you have the tapes of the Big East meetings with the personalities that you had to corral, so to speak? There have to be tapes somewhere that eventually you're going to be able to release as a major expose. Give me something.
I wish they're all in my head, fortunately. So no one's going to get in trouble. But yeah, boy, we had strong personalities when I was fortunate enough to work at the Big East, and but great leaders too. They would certainly have their arguments in the privacy of the room among the head coaches, and sometimes I'd try to referee that. Sometimes I'd just sit back and let them kind of work it out among themselves. But they were incredibly supportive of each other at the end of the day. They challenged each other, but they knew. And there's so many I could mention, but the one I will, because he just left such an impression on me, was Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. His entire career was at Syracuse. Always in the Big East before the Syracuse went over to the ACC, and incredible success, Hall of Fame coach, national champion coach, someone who could have been all self-serving and really looking out for the Syracuse program, was never like that. He was actually always looking out for the good of all the coaches in the Big East at the time, and the programs that were at the bottom of the league, because he understood over the course of his career that success for all was success for the entirety of the league. And he was always very supportive of young coaches. I just learned a lot from his style and his commitment to the game, to the league, to coaches.
Yes.
Always challenging people to think more than just about their own program and lot in life, and to think bigger than that. And he was among many, but he stood out to me as someone who was exceptional in that way.
Yeah, Dan, and I have to. He's obviously a dear friend, but NABC, commitment to the NABC. He is what drew me to the NABC, and said, you are responsible to serve. It's exactly the term that he used. His commitment to USA basketball. I think at one point he had coached 6 or 7 teams and never had a Syracuse player on them. And then Coaches versus Cancer, Norm Stewart, and then Jim Boeheim became the #1 fundraiser for Coaches versus Cancer. And everybody said, okay, just tell us how to do it. And people followed. The outsider looks at him and says, the zone and the look on his face. But you are spot on about the game being bigger than his program and the profession being bigger than the game. I am delighted that you mentioned him. So thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Your love of the game. So I have to take, you have this love of the game. It's in your blood from birth, basically. How challenging is it to remain non-emotional, whether it's an official, a coach, a player, a play in a game, a great game? How do you maintain that kind of stoic persona when the game is in your DNA?
I've had to develop that, really, because I did work for programs and schools, and was very passionate. When I was an assistant at Providence for 6 years with Rick Barnes, I was all in. Winning and losing meant everything to us and to our players. And then when I was an athletic director at Bryant, where your son did such an exceptional job after I was there, I was very much passionate about our programs there, and we had tremendous success, including going all the way to Division II national championship game under the direction of Max Good when we were Division II back when I was there. I had to really change how I, kind of approach the game and people as I went to work at a conference office at the Big East, as you mentioned, and then ultimately at the NCAA, because you really have to be neutral, right? That's what you're being paid to do, and to be fair to all programs, to run officiating programs and tournaments, in a fair and equitable way for everybody to have the same opportunity. And so I really had to learn how to be more neutral and less passionate, maybe. Doesn't mean it doesn't boil inside me and that I don't still have a deep love affair and affection for the game and the outcomes of the games, but I don't take sides anymore. And that's okay, because you feel like you're working for a larger purpose, right? Like for the game overall, for those that play it and coach it and watch it and love it. And so, it's just a different way of doing your work. And but like you said, I get paid, to sit and watch great basketball games sometimes too. That's not all I'm doing, of course, but it is pretty cool to have that courtside seat that I've, earned and as part of my responsibilities. And I love the game as much today as I did when I was a young man, and will always love it, and just feel fortunate to be a part of it.
Well, I'll finish with this one, and it's an editorial statement more than anything else. Dan, you and I go back to remembering when October the 15th meant something. Now it's just a Wednesday this year.
Very true, but we're only 3 weeks or so away from the start of the season, and regardless of what the actual official start date of practice is or isn't anymore, we're getting close, and I know that just excites all of us who love the game, and it's going to be a great season, and looking forward to seeing you along the way. I look forward to seeing your son's first year at VCU and following his team, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on with you. And you do make a difference. You've made a difference in my life.
Thank you.
Watching you, observing you, and I think if I think of one of the things that has helped me in my career, in my life, is not just the ability to listen, but also to observe. And with my eyes, and I've observed how you've gone about treating people, how you've led, what you're doing today, and what you've done your whole career, and that's made a difference in my life. So I appreciate you and your leadership, and thanks to you and Jared for having me on.
You're a special friend, Dan. Thank you. Have a great year.
Thanks, Phil. You too.
All right.
Terrific stuff from a guy who's really seen it all in the college game.
No, that was really, I didn't want to put him on a spot and say one player, one game. I just think that the challenge to be stoic while knowing, that proverbial duck on the water and churning underneath. And he's a special person who has a monumental job. Can you imagine? Like, run the tournament. Oh, and also broadcasting, and also merchant marketing, and if you see him, it's calm. And go back to the Martelli minute. I don't know is an answer that he'll give you, but he will find out.
It is unbelievable considering what he juggles and how far the game is coming. I feel like anecdotally, people get frustrated in the current landscape and environment of college basketball right now and college football and where things are at. Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The viewership numbers on the tournament were the best it's been in like a decade or two. I mean, they're doing something right. The game is as entertaining and as exciting as ever. And I think there's people like Dan that are just navigating a very unique time in the game and just finding a way to still make it the game.
Well, it's interesting that you use that term, because we could bring him back for another whole segment and just you pulled off a national basketball tournament under one roof during COVID, right? Yes, you had to cancel 1 year, the next year. And that will always be remembered for that, the shot when Gonzaga knocks out UCLA and Baylor play. Can you imagine the waking hours and the manpower that it took to pull off bringing everybody in and testing? And we could even go back and say, how did the notification go to VCU that they were out because of a positive test? So great. I'm telling you, he's gold, that guy. So thanks to Dan. And now we want to add another segment.
That's right.
Add one more segment before where I'm going and where I've been, and wait till you hear that. But
well, with the season right around the corner, we like to kind of get under the hood a little bit more, talk a little bit more hoops, and obviously this is a great way to kind of dive into that with Dan and just what he does with the NCAA. But yeah, we were hoping to get a little bit more, I say, coaches' insight.
Yeah, coaches' corner, and yes, practice is starting in some places. High school teams have yet to have tryouts, and we're gonna cover that next week. But what came to mind for me with Division One, and this is not exclusively about Division One. We're going to cover a lot of areas here, but exhibitions and scrimmages. Make sure that you as fans and as coaching staff, you're using them for growth. This is not the be all and the end all. So you use it for growth. You have to create real situations for your players with the emphasis being on daily improvement. So maybe you have a player who's never come off the bench. Well, this would be a time. This would be a time. You want to have real situations for your players. If you're traveling to scrimmage, which I'm not a big fan of, but if you are, do they know how to travel? Do your freshmen know how to travel? Do they know how to warm up? Do they know how to eat? Are you going to do scouting report to just get them used to what will happen in another game start November 3rd? So you'll have another 2 weeks. But what is it? All right. And then for fans, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. You can't say, we're going to be great and we're going to be no, because you don't know. You don't know how it was officiated, even if it's an exhibition game, right? Which is more and more prevalent as opposed to scrimmages. So you want to maintain some balance, some calm, and you want to go back and say, all of the NFL teams played 3 exhibition games. And most people know the starters don't even play a snap in some programs. You want to have situational reaction. How do your players handle 2-for-1s? How do they handle missing a foul shot? All those situational reactions. And then I had my golden oldie for scrimmages, exhibitions. 2003, 2004, we started the season. We beat Gonzaga, the number 9 team in the country, at Madison Square Garden. 10,000 people. I think it was a Friday night, maybe more. The following Tuesday, we scrimmaged, and I don't know their exact name at the time, but Philadelphia Textile, coached by Herb McGee. And I had limited some players' minutes and that kind of thing. And I think we were down at the half by 22, right? Halfway through the scrimmage. If that was 30 minutes or whatever, we were down 22. We came back and Herb would know whether they won or lost because he counted it on his career record. Maybe we lost a scrimmage and went on to win 26 straight games. But we were working on things. And you do have assistant coaches who are like, oh my God, just let's work through it. Let's work through it. So to everybody out there over these next couple of weeks, your teams are scrimmaging and exhibitions. Coaches have a plan. What are you trying to accomplish? Relay that to your players. And then to the fans, by the time the ball goes up in the air November 3rd, you will have forgotten how your team did in their exhibitions and scrimmages. And we do have a local scrimmage that will be on the calendar for where I will be going, believe it or not.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, first, let's check in on with where you've been.
I had breakfast with Fran Dunphy, Larry Kent, and John Weldy. John Weldy and Larry Kent are legendary Philadelphia leaders. Had a chance to talk about all things, and I am delighted that Fran Dunphy would extend that invitation. Came back the next day, Michael Steenberg, Fran Dunphy, Reed Dunphy, and I had breakfast to resurrect the Coaches versus Cancer program. It had fallen a little bit, but Michael now is the chair. He's the chair of the board and will be lifting that program and taking it to the heights that we have never seen. And it's the number one program in America, but we can do better. We can make more of a difference, and we will because of him. Left there and went to lunch with Katie Rose Thornton and Tracy Lenine. They are starting a player alumni network. The only thing missing from this was you, because in walks Hollis Thomas. In walks Fred Barnett. You could have been there with their numbers and you could have given them their stats. There were other Eagles of that ilk. Brian Propp was there. Bo Kimball was there. Greg Gross, the Philly. Chris Wheeler. And what they're going to do is they're going to take these former players, form a network, and hopefully get them some endorsements, get them some concierge service as they end their career. I used the example when I came home and I was looking around saying, well, how do you buy a car? I didn't know because I had been spoiled for 30 years. Some dealership had given me a car. Same is true of the players. So how do they stay really active and members of the community, and the community wants to engage with them? So the Player Alumni Network, Alan Lumpkin, unbelievable guy, worked with the 76ers. He's involved with Katie Rose and Tracy. Same day, wedding that night for Garrett Grubb and Hannah. Quite the affair. A lot of noise. I'll say that much. A lot of noise. And then Saturday, we got to kick it off. The Academy at Archbishop Wood, a shout out to Fresh Kimball, who presented, John Moscow, who presented, Mike Doyle, who presented, to those coaches that gave us a chance with the understanding that this is the first, but it's the first annual. We'll be back. The Archbishop Wood basketball team, who did the drills at breakneck speed, we thank them, and we look forward to growing that academy. Left that academy and went to a Widener reunion, a 50-year reunion for the class ahead of me. They invited me to come in, and you walk in, and there's guys like Billy White Shoes Johnson, Joe Fields. Joe Fields played center for the New York Jets. Donnie Watkins, legendary running back for Widener. He set records. He told a story about, I was in the booth working stats, and I called down to the sideline and said, with 3 more carries, he'll break the all-time attempts rushing. He said he was already on the sideline with his jersey off and his pads off, The coach came over, Bill Manlove, wonderful man, Division III Hall of Famer, college football Hall of Famer, said, I need you to go back in and carry the ball 3 more times because you'll break the school record. And Donnie looked at him and says, is that Phil? Did Phil? So Donnie was cursing me about that. Jim Hargadon, my teammate, Pat Knapp, my teammate, flew in from New Mexico. What an opportunity to be on that campus and to share with them, not my year, because next year, if I go back, I might not know as many people as I knew in this year's class. So, but Widener did win the Division III national championship in 1976. So maybe I will go back to rub elbows with the national championship players that are back. So it was busy, but not overwhelming. Now, where will I go?
Overwhelming.
This is a bit. When I wrote it, so I will speak to the student athlete senior leadership board at North Carolina Wesleyan. John Thompson is their coach. Dear friend has asked me to present to that group. Follow that by going to Immaculata to address the men's and the women's basketball team. Dave Parker is a player, as a coach that I met when I was a player in Lansdowne in 7th and 8th grade. Dave was an older guy playing for Monsignor Bonner. He invited me to speak. We have to mix in because the Mighty Mac will be going with me. She has stated that she will have nothing to say, but we'll see how that goes. We'll leave there and go to Colin Jeffries. Our youngest grandchild will turn 4. Got to attend that party. A call, not a Zoom, but a call, conference call with the academy coaches for this week. Billy Cassidy from Monsignor Bonner Prendy, and Renee Shields from Archbishop Carroll, and Mike Doyle, who is our high school coaching coordinator. We'll have a call to set up this week's academy. There's a shooting guru in this area. Fascinating guy. Roger Gallo. I'm going to have a session with him, not about shooting, but about how to get this message out. And he's going to be coming back from a couple of NBA camps. So we'll share some ideas on how you teach shooting. Bill Warndell. Bill Warndell is an NFL spotter. He has been in Philadelphia forever from the Sharon Hill, Delco area. And Bill has invited me to speak in his class. He has a class for, I believe it's Delaware County Community College. They meet in Westchester, and it's college athletics. And he brings in speakers, so I will get a chance to go into his class. That night, I'll go to the Junkies dinner. Alan Rubin, wonderful guy in the grassroots world. They bring twice a year, they have a dinner where they allow you to speak about subjects. I will speak about the academy. I'll speak about where I think this is going with the next realignment in college basketball, and we'll celebrate the game. The people in there are truly basketball junkies, and they are on every single word that you say, which is unusual because when you get basketball people together, it's usually I speak, you're thinking about speaking, and then when you speak, I'm thinking about, well, no, you didn't get what I was said, and so it's a terrific dinner. The Patriot Fund. The Patriot Fund is hosting their sponsorship dinner at the Union League. They've invited me. It's about leadership, and I'll have a chance to do that on Friday night. Saturday, driving to New York to present USA Basketball at their clinic in New York. You good so far?
I'm losing track. You have this written down somewhere? I'm like
Sunday, the Academy at Monsignor Bonner Prendy. A little bit of a change, 11 o'clock to 2. The Academy is gold. After doing it once, it's gold. Need people out there. Youth coaches, boys, girls, travel teams, rec teams, CYO teams, middle school coaches. 3 hours. Sunday, 11 to 2. 11 to 2. Bonner Prendy, the Philadelphia Coaching Academy, 11 to 2. Immediately, I see you. Your brain is frying because you want to tell me the Birds play at 1. We'll have televisions out in the lobby, but this is for your team. And this is for you to be able to sleep better because you have better practices. 11 to 2. Philadelphia Coaching Academy at Monsignor Bonner, Archbishop Prendergast High School. But that won't be the end of the day. I'll wrap up there. And then I will head out to Villanova, where VCU will be playing an exhibition game at Villanova. It'll be quite an event because it's Kevin Willard's first competition. VCU has a Philadelphia flavor with Ahmad Noel from Imhotep, Philip, Jimmy, Ryan Daly. But as long as they remember and they play back for everybody the coach's corner about exhibition games. And then Sunday night, I will be on a mission. We have not talked about it. You don't even know this yet, but we are eventually going to have the writer of Task, the miniseries on HBO. It's the final episode Sunday night. Brad Inglesby, Archbishop Carroll Villanova grad, son of the unbelievable basketball duo Tom Inglesby. His mother is Rose Hastings Inglesby. Tom Inglesby played at Villanova. So their son, Tom and Rose's son, brother of Martin Inglesby, University of Delaware basketball coach, is the writer. And if you have not gotten involved with Task yet, don't wait. 7 episodes. This is the 7th or 8th episode. It's the final one. Wow.
Is this the part where I say I still haven't gotten a chance to fire it up yet?
I tell you what,
I'm gonna have to binge it this week.
You have to go all in to be ready for.
It's as good as you're saying it is, because like
as good.
I mean, I know we're in good hands. Mayor of Easttown was unbelievable, and this sounds, I've heard nothing but rave reviews.
Yeah, and very, very, very fascinating. And he's on the list. Maybe after the new year, but we're going to track down young Brad and.
Is that right?
Have him come on and maybe make a difference. Could get in there one time on his next.
We'll see about that
venture.
Lofty goals.
But other than that, retired.
Just hanging out.
Just seeing where I can help out and make a difference. And
well, it's a quieter October than I think you'd hope to.
I really didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
I am.
Did you want to eulogize?
No, I'm just
your boys.
If that window is closed and it turns to apathy, 3.5 million people. If it turns to apathy, that would be harder to take than bad baseball. They can't have bad baseball, not with this pitching. Pitching is extraordinary. And just one stat. You know the Dodgers hit 199 and won the series. I I am not about to give up the ship, but I need some time.
Yeah.
I need some time.
I can hear the pain in your
Yeah,
voice.
it was took the edge off of a lot of things where, not that it took my voice away, because when people would say, "What do you think?" or like, who knows who's going to sign and who's staying and who's going and all this other stuff. But um, that's really an 8-month commitment. As I said to Chris Wheeler, like, this isn't casual. I watch every pitch in Clearwater and comment. So you can imagine my comment as that ball went off his foot.
It was tough.
Tough.
My scene of it was I got a last minute invitation to get up to the Meadowlands, and there I was with the little brother watching it on our phones in MetLife Stadium, and I pretty much spiked my phone on the ground. I was so upset, and then had to look up and just watch a listless performance, and then had to watch Temple lose an incredibly ridiculous and dramatic effect. I mean, I don't know how they let a football team that doesn't throw the ball run a 2-minute drill on them to win the game. I mean, but somehow they made that.
And just the Temple game, because I didn't, without as much newspaper access, was it a quarterback draw or a straight quarterback run up the gut of the defense for him to go 51 yards?
It was some sort of misdirection. I didn't even actually see the snap of the play. I just saw the seas parted and he took off on a 4th down, and I was like, "Come on, man!" Like, that's if they had just been able to just bring him down, they'd probably still win that game. Like, it just the fact that happened was just gut wrenching after the week that we had.
Good point. Good point.
And
But we also have to shout out. We have to shout out the Navy coach, because with all that effort that they put into it, he could have settled for overtime by kick. They had to convert a 2-point play to win the game by a point. Yes.
oh yeah, and that is exactly. I mean, I respect the confidence in that
Yeah.
moment in your
Great
team.
point.
Like, they're rolling, go win the game. I love it every time.
Yeah. Well,
You get, you need 2 yards to win a game. Who wouldn't take that? That's
so I guess we'll add in 2 things. Everybody get out there. The Philadelphia Coaching Academy this week, Chester County, Delaware County, people from West Philly. But we're not stopping, because the following week we're in Fairmount Park at the School of the Future. The following week goes back to a Sunday. Eagles bye Sunday at Archbishop Ryan. So the academy is alive and thriving. We need bodies in the building to really get that electricity going. And 4-2, right? 4-2, exact same record as last year at this time.
vibes are a little different.
I'm all right. You got to stay with it. Go Birds.
That's just the worst I've seen them lay down in more than a calendar year. But of course, it's obviously a go Birds. But really quick, obviously, if you're looking to make a difference with Phil here and this Make a Difference podcast, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That is where Phil's making a difference in the classroom, on the court, off the court, in the workplace. Go to pnjmakeadifference.com to tell Phil your story and see how he can get involved and help make a difference. We are Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X. Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, we would really appreciate that 5-star rating. And at Phil_Martelli is where you can find the Martelli Minute every morning at 6:30 a.m. on Instagram. Am I missing anything else?
No,
Thanks again to Dan.
Oh,
and the Philly.
And we're going on the road next week.
That's right. Taking the show back on the road. But for now, it is a mildly dejected Go Birds.
You got to pick it up.
I had to see that in person, man.
I saw your pictures and I was
they
like,
got waxed.
I didn't look at your pictures longer than once though, because I had to get zeroed in. Didn't work out, but
It's tough. It's
all
tough.
right. Well, again, great job. 54 episodes. Quite an achievement.
Moving right along.
Let's go.